Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope you are all fine. Today my topic is cognition. What is cognition? What does it mean? Well, it's a very interesting topic. I hope you will like it. The mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, that means your thinking, experience, what you have experienced through the course of life, and the senses, that means your five senses. All this culminated together gives us a perspective on cognition. So what is this cognition? It is derived from a Latin word which means to know, to recognize, or to conceptualize. You're conceptualizing something. It refers to the mental process an organism learns. In biology, the basic starting subject or the matter that they explain is human being is an organism. So this organism learns, remembers, understands, perceives, and then solves the problems which come in his life, and thinks about the body of information that he gets. What is this information? It can be information about his health, it can be information about money, that means biology or commerce, it can be information of the law of diminishing marginal utility, or the normal information of day-to-day life. What do the experts say? The experts argue that this is the stage of increasing levels of complexity, and hence the phrase cognitive development. The experts say these are stages a child goes through conceptualizing the world at different age levels. A person at the age of 6 may have a different thinking perspective compared to a person who is at the age of 14. And then a person will be different when he is an adult, or when he is mid-30s, and then when he is 50 years old. So these are the stages of life which a person goes through in this world. What is the definition of cognition? In simple terms, it means a process of thinking. It is the identification of knowledge and understanding it and perceiving it. For example, you want to start learning a bicycle. Then you start thinking about it. Then you go and have the interest to know about a bicycle. Now you have a knowledge of that cycle which has a pedal, which has a chain, and it has a handle, and there are 2 tires. So you understood everything. Now you start learning it and you start thinking how to learn this bicycle. This is perceiving it. So cognitive psychology refers to the study of the mind and how we think. That means the thought when you wanted to learn that cycle, and then how you used your thinking to become an expert in riding a bicycle. Learning is an example of cognition. The way your brain makes connection as we learn concepts in different ways to remember what we have learned. So our brain is connecting concepts like algebra in mathematics, concept like law of diminishing marginal utility in economics, or the normal day-to-day life concepts like cooking. Our ability to reason through logic is a prime example of cognition. For example, everyone uses their logic and reasoning skills to survive in this world. I will say, hey, let us jump from an aeroplane. You'll say, no way, I'm not jumping. Then I'll say, hey, you have a parachute and an expert with you, and he will be with you during that jump from that aeroplane. Then you will say, yes, I am for it. How did you go for that decision? Based on your reason and logic, because you are safe with that expert next to you and the parachute that is there on the back of your shoulder. Here are a few more examples of cognitive psychology. Making judgment about something based on information you received that your brain processes. As I told you, learning is an example of cognition. In education, it is of utmost importance. Whether it's a teacher or a student, you need to be aware of the child's cognitive development at different ages. For example, a 6-year-old does not quite have the ability to apply certain mathematic function to the real world yet, but a 9-year-old might. So the same mathematic formula what a 6-year-old learns may not apply it as the way how a 9-year-old may apply. Let us go in depth about cognitive psychology. Our ability to reason through logic is the prime example of cognition, as I told you earlier. Now, people have different ways of reasoning. Everyone. No individual is same. If there are 1 lakh people, all the 1 lakh people have unique reasoning skills. Everyone has their own thought process. So, let us look into this example. Now, a wife and a husband went to a shop to buy something for their child. So the wife is saying, hey, I want to buy this Under Armour shirt for the child because it's of superb quality. And the husband has his own reasons. He's telling, hey, in a few months he will outgrow, and it is not fine to put so much of money into this shirt because it will not make sense spending that much of money, because he will grow in 6 or 8 months. So this shirt of yours is of no use. So there you go, different reasoning skills. Now, our ability to solve problems has to do with cognitive brain functions. If our car is broken, we can go through a checklist of things we are familiar, and we will figure out what exactly is the problem and we'll repair that car. So we are using our cognitive skills here. For example, earlier people never thought of online teaching or online classes or online classes. But after this pandemic, everyone started learning how to use, because there's no other alternative. So they came out with a solution to solve the problem. How? Through this cognitive thinking. Now, this is a comparison. Many people think intelligence and cognition is one and the same. Now, this is purely etymological question, but there is a difference. Intelligence is the power available for this work, whereas cognition is what the brain does. For example, I want to drive a car, and in cognition mode all I think is, yes, there should be a car and there should be petrol in it and the keys, and there I can go ahead and drive the car. This is a cognition. Technically speaking, I am developing thinking, sensing, and I am initiating something. I am remembering how a car works. But what is intelligence? I never went to a car driving school. I don't know how to drive a car. So can I learn to drive the car in a day? No. After learning it for 6 months, I have the intelligence or the power to drive a car. So now you know the difference. Cognition is a technical aspect of thinking, whereas intelligence is the power available. That means I can think how a car can be driven, but I can only drive a car if I have learnt it, and when I learnt it, I get that intelligence to drive a car carefully. So intelligence is a quality of cognition, or perhaps better put this way, it is a type of cognition. An intelligent person has cognitive skills that he or she can apply to do different kinds of activities. So now after learning that car for 6 months, I have that intelligence and I am using the cognitive things of driving the car, like taking the keys, having the petrol and going on a ride, on a long drive. Is there any other word for cognitive? Yes, there are many words like cerebral, mental, intelligent, intellectual, reasoning, reasonable. What is this cognitive method? What is this cognitive approach? Cognition refers to mental activity including thinking, remembering, learning, and using the language. When we apply cognitive approach to learning and teaching, that is the best way to success. We focus on the understanding of informations and concepts. Yes, I told you earlier, algebra, commerce, economics, all these concepts are understood. Types of cognitive learning. There are 3 main types of learning: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and observational conditioning. Both classical and operant conditions are forms of associative learning, whereas observational learning is learning by observing others. Let's go into the first part. What is classical conditioning? Classical conditioning is a process we learn to associate events that frequently happen together. As a result of this, we learn to anticipate events. Let us take this example. Ivan Pavlov conducted a study involving dogs. He trained the dogs to associate with the sound of a bell, with the presence of a piece of meat, and whenever the dogs heard the sound of the bell, then they used to anticipate that meat would be served to them. So there you go, associate events or anticipating events. The dog anticipated something with the sound of the bell. Operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is the learning process by which behaviors are reinforced or punished, thus strengthening or extinguishing a response. The example will tell you, and that will give you a in-depth view of what is operant conditioning. Behavior that are followed by consequences that are satisfying to the organism are more likely to be repeated. As I told you, organism here may mean a human being. So if you have done something and that outcome is very happy outcome, you will repeat those things. Suppose you have done something and the outcome is unpleasant, you are likely less to repeat that things. So there you go, strengthening something which is pleasant, extinguishing something which is unpleasant. The last one, observational learning. Observational learning is through observation. It is through observation that we learn to imitate others. Here, Albert noticed that the children often learn imitating through adults, and he had tested a theory using a famous Bobo doll. And in this experiment, he learned that children would attack the Bobo doll after viewing adults hitting the doll. How many times we have seen small children imitating their father or mother or grandparents? Sometimes they exactly say the words what their parents say, or they exactly do the things how their parents do. So, observation learning is an apt example of this behavior. Bloom's taxonomy of learning. Well, my whole intention of cognition is to come to this level so that you can understand where this Bloom's taxonomy has come from. And in today's scenario, Bloom's taxonomy is in use in most of reputed business schools or NAAC accredited institutions. Without this, you are nothing. And let me tell you, students, you have already written your internal exams based on this Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy is a pyramid order level of objectives taken from cognition. The lowest level of cognition is remembering, then we go on to understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating and creating. And creating is the highest level of cognition. What is Bloom's classification of cognitive skills? First, remember. Retrieve relevant knowledge from long-term memory. Well, you see, this is a picture of a lemon. So, what is the first stage? Remembering. Hey, this is a lemon. And the lemon is yellow in color. And what is the name of it? The name given is citric acid, which is also called as lemon. And what is the size of it? So this is all remembering stage. The name of it is lemon, and what is the size, what color it is a remembering stage. What is understanding? Construct meaning from instructional passage. So what do you understand? Hey, when the lemon is yellow, it is ripe. And when it is ripe, it is ready to be eaten. And if I eat it, there is a rich vitamin C content in it. So I understand all these things. So this is the second stage of understanding. Now, the third stage is applying. What is applying? For example, your family member is not well. Maybe he has a slight throat infection and he has cough. So what you will do? You will apply this lemonade. You will prepare a lemonade or a lemon tea because it is rich in vitamin C and it will work as a medicine. So you take that lemon and make a lemon tea and give it to your family member. So you are applying what you have learned. That means it's the third process. Now the analyzing. You break materials into constituent parts and determine how to use the parts. For example, now in analyzing, you are experimenting. You take this lemon juice and you experiment. Is lemon juice nice for us? What are the rich oxidants that he has? How this vitamin C works for the human body? And you are conducting an experiment, and you will know from this experiment that the lemon peel is not good for health because it is full of pesticides. So there you analyze things and you have an overall structure or purpose of this lemon. Now the next stage is evaluate. Now you take another family of this lemonade, which is oranges. Now you will make a difference. You make judgments based on criteria and standards. What is the price of orange? What is the price of lemon? How rich the content of vitamin C is in oranges? or in lemonades. So now you are evaluating things. So that's the stage of evaluation. And the last stage of cognition is create. Now that you have learned everything about lemonade and lemons, what you will do is you will come up with your own brand of lemon juice, which is a lemonade, and start your own restaurant or create your own juice restaurant where you will be starting selling this lemonade. There you are at the creative stage where you are organizing in a new pattern of structure. So there you go. Now you have a clear understanding. It's a circle from starting stage of remembering what is the lemon, and then the last stage of creating, which is your own lemonade shop. Now I have some homework for you, and this assignment is I want you to search and browse in the internet what are the 8 core cognitive capacities. Already I have given you a list of it, and there is a website. If you click this website, you will know much information. Don't only look only into this website, search in other websites also. So I thank you all for listening. I hope you had a wonderful time.